lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and to provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. Sonny Sharma, what's up, man? He's already in the audience out here. Good morning, Orange Shirt Gang in the house. Yeah, you guys, we got an exciting show. We got a couple of articles we're going to break down today. Again, I'm rocking solo today because, as always, anybody who appears on my show is a transportation professional. They have a job that they are in, and my freight friends are busy right now. So I'm going to continue to show up every single day for you guys. I'm lining up some guests for next week as we speak and everything. And yeah, we're going to break down some industry headlines as always. If you're unfamiliar with my content, this is obviously my live show. I also do a twice-a-week long-form podcast interview. Again, you guys, this is all about providing education and insight into the transportation industry. It's one of the many reasons that I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. Not only is this the greatest nation on earth, but I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live your American dream as well and stay in business, because that's what's key with all of this. Before we get into anything else today, you guys, as always, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub, vhubapp.com. Doesn't matter if you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper alike, we all need access to trailers at some point in time. And with rising fuel costs and repair costs and everything out there, if you're a small fleet, you should never have to shut your operation down because you have a trailer in the shop. And the best part about this, as always, you guys, you get paid to move these trailers. Yes, paid to do that on top of the revenue that you can get by loading that trailer out. So what they're working on right now is they have Glade Spring, Virginia, going to Delta, British Columbia, and you get paid $18.50 to move that trailer. They also have West Valley City, Utah, going up to Calgary, Alberta. Again, $15.50 US to do that. And that's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading out that trailer. And then they also have San Diego, California, going to Houston, Texas. They just raised the price on this, you guys, $1,000 to move that on top of the revenue that you can get by loading that trailer up. So hit them up, you guys, vhubapp.com. My friends Xavier Campos and Stacy Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. They help keep this neon light on for me every single day. All righty. Little market up. This is the 174th Freight Coach Morning Show. And we are on a roll. Obviously, we're not going to stop with any of this stuff. And we also are going to remind you guys that there are some very real issues in this industry, and we're going to continue to bring them up. One of those big issues out there is access to truck parking for our drivers. There's also a very big issue about access to facilities, being able to take a shower, stuff that none of us would ever go without, but yet we ask our drivers to go without it, which is astronomical to me. But this is one of those things, you guys, I don't do this shit for vanity metrics. I do this to actually see meaningful change in this industry, and I'm going to continue down this path. Also, national average for fuel is at $4.96 a gallon out there, which is, again, fucking insane. I think this is just a temporary blip. I think it's probably going to shoot back up here in all reality, but here we go with it. We're up $1.30 year over year. I get this information directly from the EIA, you guys, EIA.gov. Use that information to your advantage. When it comes down to like pricing out for your customers and everything else. I know there's a lot of people bidding on a lot of freight right now, and that's good information for us to have. And yeah, EIA.gov. All right, random lane report. As always, when I do a solo show, I pick a random lane out there and we go over capacity. We check it out and see what would we do with this information. Now, I'm choosing random city of Kansas City, Missouri, going up to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and it's a reefer. And what we're doing on this is right now, what it's currently showing is $3.17 a mile out there. And then over the 30-day, we're looking at $3.16. Over the 60-day, $3.07. And then over the 90-day, $3.15. So it has damn near held locked in place over the last 90 days. So if you're going out there and pricing out freight, and again, this is including fuel, you guys, but if you're going out there and pricing in freight, I would try and lock this rate in here for probably, outside of Christmas. This rate will probably hold firm probably through Q1 of next year. It'll probably drop, actually, is what's going to happen in Q1 with it. But again, if I'm just going off of a pricing standpoint here over the next couple of weeks, I would definitely hold this rate in place and win as much business as possible. All right. Let's see here. We are going to jump right in. And Whitney Young, good morning. Thanks for joining out here. Whitney Young's watching over on YouTube. And again, if you guys are over on these other platforms, over on YouTube and then on the Coffee with the Freight Coach podcast audio only replay, if you guys are checking this out, make sure you're subscribed out there. If you could rank the show, that helps as well. It just helps the exposure to all of this, because at the end of the day, you guys, if you guys are seeing value in this, your network's going to see value in it as well. And anything we can do to get this shit out there, because again, we're all about keeping people in business. We're all about helping out the owner ops and the small companies stay competitive in every freight market, because that's literally 97% of the industry that's out there. All righty. First article we're going to break down today is from FreightWaves. And FMCSA is considering limiting scope of emergency waivers. Relief would apply only to a daily and weekly hours of service limits. The FMCSA is proposing to roll back the relief automatically given to commercial truckers and trucking companies when disaster strikes. The change, which would alter a rule established in 1992, would mean that during a regional emergency by weather and other supply chain disruptions, drivers and carriers would be exempt only from daily and weekly limits on driving time and not requirements that are also exempt out there. Those other requirements found in parts 390 to 399 of federal regulations that are automatically exempted in emergency current waivers, including driver qualifications, motor vehicle inspections, and prohibits on operating while ill or fatigued. In addition, instead of regional emergency declarations triggering a 30-day exemption, automatic relief would only apply for 9 days. Presidential declarations of emergency would continue to trigger a 30-day exemption. I find it odd that the current waivers, driver qualifications, are currently under this exemption. So I got to agree with this. Like, that should, like, exempt for qualifying drivers. So like, essentially they would throw anybody behind the wheel, is what I'm perceiving this as. And yeah, that's insane. That should never be a part of it. Based on agency subject matter expertise and input from states, industry groups, and other, the FMCSA believes that most emergencies justifying allowing carriers and drivers providing direct assistance in responding to the emergency relief of normal hours of service limits to deliver critical supplies out there. I personally think 5 days is plenty, because, again, and then you can extend it another 5 days and stuff like that. I think that this is a solid move by bringing it down to that outside of a presidential emergency, which would trigger a 30-day like they're talking about. However, other safety regulations often have no direct bearing on the motor carrier's ability to provide assistance during emergency relief efforts. By limiting the scope of the current rule on emergency regulatory relief, the proposed rule would clarify that the federal regulation is not relevant to the most emergency situations. Yes. All right. I think that this is actually a solid move by the FMCSA in this, to relook at this and then refine it to get it down to like what we actually need it for. And, because again, it's most of these natural disasters, when it's going out there, the most critical supplies are brought down there within the first 5 days. And again, only extending it by a 5-day period as opposed to keeping it for a 30-day period, I think is in line with what needs to be done with this. So I will have to agree with the FMCSA for the first time in a long time here on this show on what they're doing. It did state in there that its current proposal has no information suggesting that existing emergency exemptions have negatively impacted road safety. All right, we'll keep it at that. Again, you guys, that article, freightwaves.com, FMCSA considering limiting scope of emergency waivers out there. Danny M., good morning. Thanks for joining in here today. And yeah, it's it's good to see what they're going to do with that and to relook at that. All right, let's go on to the next one here. We got fleetowner.com. November 8 class orders fall well below 2 prior months, but trucking industry trends that are out there, a 2-month surge in North American Class 8 orders ended in November, according to 2 trucking industry trend trackers. Both reported that OEMs fell below 35,000 units last month. But ACT Research and FTR Transportation Intelligence emphasized that order activity is way ahead of November of 2021, with the FTR reporting on December 5th that net orders were up 254% year over year. Much of it appears to have been slotted for production in 2023. Jonathan Starks, FTR CEO and Chief Intelligence, that means further moderation of levels as we get into the new year. The market remains strong despite economic uncertainties, and production still will be limited to some extent by supply chains and labor. I got to call out what they're saying about that the order activity is ahead of November of 2021. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that there wasn't production going on at that time. All the you couldn't get a truck last year, so I could see why it would look a lot better than what it was during that time last year. Sorry, I had to continue to drink this coffee out here. FTR, it said that it fell to 34,300 units off of October's robust final tally of 43,200. Preliminary November orders were even lower. And yeah, well below, September's above 53,000 numbers, and that was their biggest one ever. So again, I think that it's probably trending in the fact that a lot of these companies are getting their orders as they come in from the OEMs. And again, though, but trucks are still being sold. And here's what it has. It shows that orders may have declined over the last 2 months, but compared to last year's weak results, they're showing tremendous gains they had set out there. And then in its own December 5th release, ACT called November's orders strong and likely pushed OEM backlogs higher and extended second half of 2023 build visibility. And OEMs have opened their boards for 2023 more broadly and ongoing pent-up demand. With tailwinds from strong carrier profitability and elevated fleet age, it is providing resilience, it says. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that with what we're seeing out there, there is again, with where they're at right now, with it's very tough to sit here and put a pulse on. I would like to see compared data to when there was normal production going on, because I think when you compare to 2021 and nobody was buying anything because they physically couldn't buy anything because they were all sold out early on in the year, and it looks like that right now. So again, I think that some of this information is kind of subjective in what we are seeing when it comes to the health of it. But again, if we are seeing a lot of orders continuing to trickle down, that is obviously a solid sign. There was medium duty truck orders. Going on here. Charles Roth said October's turning point for Class 8. OEMs are now filling build slot. Okay, so here's talking about the strength of it. Last month, he had said that they're filling build slots well into Q2 and Q3 of 2023. And component shortages continue to be a week-to-week issue out there. The overall sentiment is manufacturers are optimistic that improvements will be made out there. So again, that's good. That's a good sign that they're taking it on a week-by-week basis when it comes down to the the supply chain issues with the parts and everything. But again, build slots are still filling up for Q2 and Q3 of next year. I would assume through this month, it might solidify through Q4 of next year, if not through January, which is a good sign. As always, aging equipment is out there. People are looking to build. They're going to continue to look to invest in their businesses no matter what, because freight's going to still be moving and they have to have trucks out there. So again, that article is from fleetowner.com. November class orders fall well below 2 prior months, but it'll be interesting to see all these articles. You guys, I put the links to them over on the YouTube channel, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only replay over on iTunes and Spotify. So keep that in mind with all of this. You guys want to check out any of these articles directly. Third article, we're going to get to 4 articles today, you guys, because there was the information out there for new articles was that they were short. They were short in supply today. And I'll continue to talk about as many topics as possible that we can out here. This was an interesting read for me. This one was from the JOC. My friend Ari Ash wrote this one, and it was Norfolk Southern acknowledges need to restore shipper confidence in rail. It's always interesting to see that when they're coming out there and saying that, because that's damage control 101 right there. And I have always been, I understand the allure of putting stuff on the train, especially like if there's no strict delivery date or pickup date on it. It is the most cost-effective way to ship, to ship across country. But at the end of the day, it's interesting to see this approach right now, because historically speaking, with my experience, is they've kind of had a don't give a fuck attitude with a lot of their stuff. And it was we're going to get you when we get you. We're going to do what we're going to do, and you're just going to fucking deal with it. That's my personal experience with intermodal. I know that's not for everybody. I know some people are going to say, oh, I've had great experience, and good for you. I just haven't. So I'm just putting my personal perspective out there on this. All right, to the article here. U.S. shippers have lost confidence in moving their freight, and oh, wow. Jesse Griffin. I get it. I joined and I would yawn if I were here too. Ouch, man. Ouch, dude. Is it that boring today? All right. U.S. shippers have lost confidence in moving their freight by rail because of chronic service disruptions. And restoring resiliency to the network is critical to winning business for the long term, according to the CEO of Norfolk Southern Railway. Similar to most North American railroads, Norfolk Southern, furloughed thousands of employees during the early days of the pandemic and has struggled to rehire and retain the workforce necessary to handle the surge in models out there. Alan Shaw, the CEO, said during the company's investor day Tuesday that the railroads must care for their core metric, and that's service. For decades, railroads have had cycles of service disruptions. They have tended to occur every 3 to 4 years due to causes that are easy to categorize in hindsight, but hard to predict. These disruptions have always eroded the confidence customers need to have if they are going to structurally rely on rail instead of highways. A company can't expect to provide sustainable growth if it provides its customers with lousy service product every 3 years. Shaw said it's key to build resiliency so Norfolk Southern can handle boom and bust cycles better than the past. They have already taken multiple steps to address intermodal service issues, including its latest iteration of precision scheduled railroading that includes simplifying its network out of Chicago, where the company operates 4 container terminals. Beginning next year, they will be putting all ocean containers into stacks, similar to a marine port, to address the long-term growth in port volumes. Putting containers into stacks will allow railroads to increase terminal capacity, especially in locations that have no adjacent land to add more storage. I don't know. You would think that they would be maximizing their stuff out there to maximize efficiencies every single time. I don't know. My personal perspective is you would want to provide a SWOT analysis on your operations every fucking day, or not every day, but quite frequently, to see how you can get the most efficiency out of there. And again, I think that some of these modes of transportation are just, from a reliability standpoint, OTR, in my opinion, is always going to be the most reliable. It's always going to be the most effective for time-sensitive goods and everything out there. But again, I see that, sometimes you just can't compete on the price. Now, addressing the workforce, which I think is going to be very interesting to see how a lot of things shake up with, especially with the unions on the trains, on the rail, getting their bargaining agreement kind of put into place. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of people who are going to come back. I mean, I think it's telling, because here for this line, I think this is what's most telling about this is the focus of their message to investors was building resiliency on the labor side to prevent a shortage of qualified employees needed to run trains hauling cargo. When the time came to rebuild our ranks and recall furloughed employees, we couldn't get enough people. And frankly, 2 years later, right now, we still have about 25% of our crew locations that are understaffed. We made a lot of progress in our service product, but we are not where we need to be yet. For America's freight railroads, resilience has a deeper importance than just the ability to handle future disruptions like a pandemic. We're students of history. I think that most people aren't coming back to work probably because of all of the information that comes out in these bargaining agreements and stuff like that about the workers' demands not getting met. I mean, I personally think like that's my biggest problem with most unions is it's like, if all of your workers are not fairly represented, why the fuck are you in a union? Why are you paying dues to somebody and you don't even have paid time off and sick leave and shit like that? And like, it's fucking absolutely absurd to me that I don't want to go off on too much. You know, fuck it, I'm going to go off on a tangent. It's bullshit. All right. Again, I'm not anti union by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that it's fucking odd that you're paying dues to somebody to represent you, yet you feel the need to have to strike because your needs aren't being met and you're not getting like adequate support and stuff out there. Like, why the fuck are you paying into your union then? I fully understand why nobody would want to go back and work in that environment. All right. And not everybody wants to be on call 24/7, 365 days out of the year and shit like that. Like, it's insane to me, some of the conditions that these individuals are having to deal with. Like, I wouldn't fucking want to go back and work in that environment. If I had been consistently promised better working conditions for years, and then I get furloughed at the beginning of the pandemic, and then you want me to come back and work under those exact same fucking conditions? Fuck you. That would have been my exact response to that. I would have went and got another job as well, one that actually had paid time off. And that when I was gone for the day, I didn't have to fucking worry about it. If that was my mindset, again, I work for myself. All right. So I'm under my, I work 24/7 anyways, but it's by my choice. You know, like I don't pay into a fucking union to tell me this shit. Like, God damn, I just don't understand it. I truly don't. Anyways, if anybody is pro-union out there listening, I would love to have you come on. Like, I'm not going to thrash you. I'm not going to come at you. I'm not going to belittle. I'm not going to offend. I just want to have an open and honest conversation with somebody who is pro-union, who is in a union, and finds all of the benefits in the world of that. I have just, out of all the research that I've done on this stuff recently, I just don't see the benefit to it. I truly don't. Anyways, Annie Adams, Chief Transformation Officer, said, instead of furloughing 5% of the workforce in a downturn, the company will use other strategies to keep workers employed. In brief economic downturn, she said they will train employees to work in different regions and to become locomotive engineers. There will be economic downturns that may be so severe that staffing reductions must come into play, but we will explore alternatives to traditional furloughs. The goal in all of these scenarios is to ensure that when business rebounds, as it always does, we're positioned to quickly redeploy a skilled, engaged, and productive workforce. All I'm hearing from that message is if we have to fucking get rid of you, we will. We will not do anything to retain you and keep you if the economic downturn is so severe. Why would you want to work for a company? Like, I can see why nobody would want to work for that. Like, I wouldn't. Like, you're telling me that because again, what everybody's predicting out here right now is that they're going to be, we're going to be in some pretty odd times coming up here again, some pretty uncertain times. So what they're saying is, hey, if it gets bad, we'll fucking fire you. Most leadership, in my opinion, if you want to get a rally behind your staff, is do everything in your power to ensure that they're going to be employed no matter what. All right. Like, why would you get rid of people? Again, as a business owner myself, I will do everything in my power to keep my team employed and receiving a paycheck. If that means I have to go without, I will go without, because I think that's what leadership's all about. You can't sell somebody on my vision. I can't sell a group of people on my vision about where I'm going to go with it. And then in the first sign of adversity, I'm going to just fucking get rid of people. I don't know. I think you got to take a different approach to that. And again, I understand that a lot of these publicly traded companies, when you get that big, their responsibility is to shareholders. And that's the harsh reality of business. is the CEO of a publicly traded company's fiduciary responsibility is to the shareholders and not its staff. It's a fucking tough pill to swallow for a lot of people, but that's the truth. And time again, they're going to continuously operate in that manner. Yeah. So that article, as always, I love what Ari Ash has to say. He's my main follow when it comes to anything intermodal. He is probably the most well-versed journalist on intermodal news out there. So hit him up. That article, joc.com. Jesse Griffin says precision railroading was the way the industry should have operated initially because they haven't had the level of optimization regarding total throughput in the past. Different expectations have been set with their mode regarding transit days compared to their savings. Tough in a market like this, though, where, to your point, OTR is fighting hard. Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's interesting. Julia, what's up? I appreciate that. It's about the time, though. Make sure you're following. Yeah, give Julia a follow and One Call Logistics. Julia markets herself very fucking well, you guys. And I appreciate the shit out of the hustle that she puts out there all the time. All right. The last article is about driver recruiting, transportdive.com. And Warner sees higher driver school costs amid recruitment push. The driver training school contributed to Q3 losses in one segment. Out there, the segment generated $1.4 million in operating income in Q3, and that turned into a loss of nearly $1.1 million in Q3 of 2022. Warner expanded its driver schools in 13 states in late 2020 to 2022 in Q1 as part of recruitment. Details were sparse, but 2 training locations had temporary issues out there, and Hurricane Ian affected 5 schools, but for only days, not weeks, said CEO Derek Leathers. Quarterly reports suggest that the company added drivers through the year. Warner had 14,245 employees at the end of Q3, not including independent contractors. The driver push comes as acquisitions have helped the logistics provider grow. While the number of new employees wasn't disclosed, Warner onboarded 234 drivers in its acquisition of Baylor Trucking, and an approximate $525 million deal by Heartland Express marked a milestone for the year. The company anticipated it when it involved taking 2,800 employees, but that was only by expansion. Purdy Brothers and PAM Transportation Services picked up drivers and other deals this year as well. Even with the acquisition in recent months, Warner may not be finished just yet. We continue to evaluate acquisitions in North American truckload and logistics. Leathers, who also serves as the company's president and chairman, said on the call, "We are remaining disciplined and searching for companies with strong management." Essentially, it looks like Warner's going to be on the buy outlook here, probably for the foreseeable future, as the uncertainty of everything is going on out there. Some businesses are going to look to sell, and it looks like Warner is going to be evaluating a lot of those things and continue to expand. I'm impartial. I think that it's just the decision that some people make. But again, it's good to see that they're investing in driving schools and they're expanding their footprint out there in the market to hire more and more drivers as a whole. Because again, you guys, if we want to recruit more drivers into the industry, it's on us. If we want to retain that, it's also on us, because I think that's the biggest issue in our industry is there's a retention issue more than anything. And that's what we need to work on as a whole. So again, that article, it's transportdive.com. Warner sees higher driving school costs amid recruitment push. And that is it for today, you guys. We got to a couple of articles. We did our little market report. We're going to be back tomorrow too, whether you like it or not. I'm just kidding. You guys all like it. You guys keep fucking showing up continuously day in and day out. And as always, you guys, if you guys saw value in this, share the show. If you guys jump over to the YouTube channel, The Freight Coach, or if you guys hit me up on iTunes and Spotify under Coffee with the Freight Coach, subscribe and share the show. Rank the show if you could as well, because it just helps us all grow. Because at the end of the day, you guys, if you guys see value in this, your network's going to see value in this as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.